What's up, Miniatures Paintbrush Legion, and welcome to Terrain Tutorials. Welcome back, TMP fans. My name is Rob, your host, and I do have to say that you are awesome, and don't let anybody tell you any different. Today we're going to paint up some Galvonic Servohaulers, which are pretty interesting for me, and it's going to go onto that larger terrain table that we're going to create, that sector monitorum kind of thing going on that I want to create and play my first game of Warhammer 40k 10th edition on. So let's go down to Table Town and let's see how I get on with it. Alrighty, TMP Legion. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with a rattle can, and that is Rust-Oleum Camo Brown. I love doing that. Starting off with a nice little rattle can, easy to do primer if the weather's permitting. Next, I do this TCP global kind of strainer, and I cut it this time. Now, I did do a video on using strainers for your paint. This way your airbrush does not get all schmageggened. Now, you can do this with 8 thin coats maybe with Everland Sunset over that brown. If you wanted to save some time though, this method is the quickest way to get it painted. But some people just do enjoy putting just the paint and the paintbrush down. Same kind of effect. But if you are using an airbrush, having an airbrush holder over here, I cut the strainer here, I shake up the Everland Sunset. It is a thicker paint and I do dilute it somewhat, but you know, I've had that bottle for a while, and you can look at the edge there very lightly. It is a little cruddy. Maybe I need to clean it out a little better, but even if you clean it out, your best efforts here maybe a moot point, simply because, well, the particles that get stuck in an airbrush are almost, you know, very, very extremely small, not atomic small, but you know, pretty small, and it's really hard to catch that with the naked eye, especially if you're using this thin down paint. Now, I am using a dropper bottle, a pipette, and I'm putting water through it. In essence, I'm diluting the paint in the strainer, so this way it can come out as pure as I possibly can. In the end, what I do is like I kind of fold this over a little bit and like squeezes every drop of paint out of it that I could possibly squeeze out of it and make sure that I get my money's worth when it comes to paint. Okay, now that I've done that, look how easy and without clogs and very, very little dry tip at the moment. You know, it's going to happen eventually, but I just had a good experience with the airbrush because I strained that paint. Again, I have a video out there, but it's basically exactly what you just saw right now, to be honest with you. All right. So now what we're doing is getting even coats. If you've never used an airbrush before, you just want to use like gentle sweeping motions in order to get nice even coverage and no drips. Okay, now that it's all done up, we're going to use some burnt iron. This is a very dark metal. You can use any darker metal that you would like to. Sometimes some people use a metallic paint, like let's say lead belcher, if you're using something like that, and they add like a black ink to it to make it really, really dark. That's a method that you can try if you want to, but I do like using Vallejo model color when it comes to my metallic paints. I just really love the way that it's so finely grinded down that you can actually see to scale that it just looks like steel. Like you want steel, it's steel in a bottle, for example. All right, now I'm getting all the gubbins, all the little areas, and this is a bit new for me because I am a big proponent of doing sub-assemblies, but micro sub-assemblies. I do a lot of sub-assemblies, actually. I'm actually known for being obsessive when it comes to sub-assemblies. But in the end, the product is pretty cool. But I'm going to try to start using more assembled parts when I think about sub-assembly. And if I can absolutely get away with it, I am going to assemble it. And just really push my skills in that area, really just getting the brush in more places than an airbrush. Again, going on to several components of this project, there are so many little components. There's two little servo haulers that have like the chain kind of wheeling going on. And then I have two of the cranes, one with wheels and a pull metal piece, so the one of the servo haulers can pull it around, and the other does not have that pulling thing, like it's already set onto the ground. So there's two different things, and you see them on the top there. One has the wheels and the other one is just flat on the ground, and that's how they came. Now I did use, for the beginning of this terrain project, several different boxes of terrain pieces that I had for the Secular Monitorum project. And there's actually a there's a surprise coming in with this project here. I actually contracted my friend Richard from the Nerd Life, and he did a project or commission for me just for this table, and that's going to come up in a later episode. So if you do like the content, just stick around, or maybe even hit the subscribe button and you can see it later, because chances are that you might not see my content again if you don't do that. So hopefully you like the stuff and I can see you more often. We get to hang out together and model together and paint together, and that's super important. So when it comes to metallic paints, it's kind of difficult to paint over. It's almost like painting black, especially the dark metallic paints. So since I'm painting over yellow, I am just really using my brush control. You can see the hand positionings there. I'm balancing it with my my middle finger, or in there. No, I'm using one of the fingers. Okay. And the other three are gripping the brush. My goodness, I need to get up to my biology and remember all the fingers there. Comment down below if you know which finger it is that's balancing and poised. Okay. That being said, we have black paint, and I'm getting into, and this is a tricky little part because there's supposed to be little lights in the middle of that little servo hauler. So what I'm going to do is get the areas nice and black, again, balancing my hand, restricting the movement, so this way I can have more brush control, because my hands shake, so I have to stabilize it. And stabilizing your hand is one of the really good steps in order to get more brush control with your hands. So if you are working on one skill, try brush control by stabilizing your hand. You're going to see several different positions that I use with the brush. Like right now, my hand is literally on the table and it's restricting the movement. It's not like up in the air where it can shake. So try doing that if you haven't done it before, and just improve on your brush control. And that could be something you improve on. I'm a big proponent about you pushing at least one skill everything that you paint. So this way you get a little better somewhere, somehow. And those things add up. After a while, it becomes second nature, and you'll just be and you'll see a level of improvement in your painting and in your skills. And when you put it down, you can feel really proud of something that you've done. And I think that's what part of the hobby is. Like, it's not just, it is playing the game, but it's not just playing the game, right? There's this other entity that you're going to do. And when you're playing the game, you kind of got to get better with better list and matte hammering and stuff like that. The same thing with painting. You got to want to get a little better, every time that you do it. Like every time you make a list, you make a more powerful list, or try something different, and hopefully you get better. It's all about trial and error. Same thing with painting. Be forgiving of yourself. Okay. And attack it. Attack whatever skill that you feel like, I'm not good at this. Or one of those things are like, oh, well, I'll never try non-metallic metal, for example, because I just did a thing of non-metallic metal, and I did have some friends like, oh, I can never paint that. I'm like, you could if you wanted to, but you're going to have to spend some time with it if you really wanted to, right? Nothing is off the realm of possibilities. Okay, going in with a nice Mephiston red. I love Mephiston red. That's a base paint. It's super dull, and that just works perfect when it comes to terrain, in my opinion. Now, I just found out that there is a spray that you can use, and it is the equivalent to Mephiston red, but it is in across the pond in Europe, and I'm in America, so I do not have access to it. And if I do, the shipping handling is going to be extremely expensive, like $30 a can maybe, total. Okay, more Mephiston red, just going in and doing the little wires and the pipes. I'm going to do some differentiation of all that later on. So just getting those base coats and base tones in just to, delineate the little, those little canisters and the wires that come through, and using red against yellow, which are contrasting colors, really do make it pop. So I go back there, and when I do the black lining, it really, really does differentiate the lines. And whenever they attach, when GW attaches like wires and stuff to that, I feel that it's very important to separate, what is wire and what is wall. So this way it can look more realistic when it comes to your painting. All right, doing that little, I guess it's the piston right there. And that is fun as well. This model actually was very much fun to paint. It was interesting. I was looking forward to doing it for a long time now. I always thought that this little combination, and I bought this in a Kill Team box set. I remember I bought that, like one of those terrain, like you buy this terrain set and it just goes onto your terrain table and you could just play a game with it. So I bought that, and that was back when they had, the crane and these two little servo haulers, and it had, the big containers that I did in a previous video. So it had all of that in there, and that was pretty cool. All right, going in with gold now. And again, Vallejo model color is where it's at. It is a colder gold. And I wanted to go colder gold on here since red is a warm color, and I wanted to add some coldness to the metal. I didn't want to be all bright and shiny, especially in a universe that is known for its darkness, and yeah, I just wanted to add some of that. I don't want it to be like all warm and fluffy. Although these things are absolutely cute. They're just so cute, in my opinion. All right, so again, with all metallic paints, being careful and using your hands and positioning your hands in a way that you're restricting your movement and adding brush control does help here tremendously. Okay, so Tech Green is next. I do love that color. It's one of my favorite colors because it's that nice teal greenish that I love. And it is so like a great base color, especially for my more kind of like plasma things. Now, I could have added a lot of plasma glow. Again, this is a terrain piece, so I kind of wanted to do it as quickly as possible. So I could have spent a lot of my time I'm working on that. And if you are working on this and you want to add more of a glow to it, you can definitely do that. And that's very easy with glazing. You put a little glaze medium down into the paint, put a little bit of water in down the paint. And essentially, you're painting with muddy water and slowly building up those transitions with the glow that's going in there if you want to do it via paint. All right, so Tech Green going back on. And remember those little lights I said that was while on one of the servo haulers? Here they are. I'm starting with a Tech Green. Actually, I'm going to do a base color, a mid-tone, and then a highlight on each one of these little lights. And there's a lot of them there. I didn't even count them, but there was quite a bit. All right, now I'm going to do some sky blue from Vallejo model color. I'm going to mix that in with my Tech Green. And look what I do in the wet palette here. So I'm just going to take a little bit over here and create a mid color in between. And that's what I love about wet palettes, because you can just get those mid tones by just mixing up some paint very simply. And I'm using a Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush. So this way it has a nice little belly to it, and I could just work with it. Now that seems like a big old glob over there, so be careful not hitting the edges. Although if you do hit the edges, it's not a big deal. You can just blend it outwards, again using the glazing technique that I mentioned previously, and you can see that it glows. But I didn't want to do any of the glowing right now. I was just not feeling it. And you know what? When it comes to painting your plastic miniatures, if you're not feeling something, then don't do it by all means, right? If you don't think that it is absolutely essential, then and it does not bring you joy. Remember, this is a hobby. If it does not bring you joy, don't do it. But at the same time, you got to want to improve, and hopefully improving at your skill brings you joy. That is my wish for everyone. because I want everybody to be able to do a display model and really feel proud of what that, that brings me so much joy. And I just want to bring that joy to other people, finishing like a display kind of model, display level model, and just looking at it and being like, all right, and then other people tell you, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And you're like, you know, and none of the patronizing, like, that's so amazing, because some people just give you compliments for giving compliments. But I'm a firm believer that if everything is absolutely astronomical and amazing and perfect, then nothing is, right? If everything is super special, then nothing is. All right, going in there with a little bit of white there, actually having that glow, and that third kind of layer of kind of plasma glow in there. I guess it's like a generator glow, not really plasma glow. I think plasma is a little brighter, but yeah, I could have done a lot of that, but sorry. I could have done a lot of that, and using an airbrush is an easy way to put a little glow in there too if you don't want to use the glazing technique. All right, there are the lights, and now I'm going to go back with a little bit of white and do the ultra highlight for those little lights. Again, using a thinner brush. Actually, I'm using my Raphael brush to get to there, or was it? Yep, my Raphael brush to get into there as well. So using Raphael brushes as well as Winsor & Newton's Series 7s. I love those to be able to paint, really, really small detail. When it comes to the larger things, then I use synthetic throwaway kind of brushes that I buy them by the 100, and that helps, definitely. All right, another thing that I could have done is OSL lighting onto that first light on the top there. You see that light by my index finger on the top? Yeah, you could do a light for that as well. Again, I wanted to put enough detail to get a little wow factor in there, but I didn't want to spend forever on it because, honestly, I am gearing up for the Nova Open this year, and I am playing Flesh Eater Quartz. So, yeah, I'm going to do a couple of videos on my Flesh Eater Quartz and actually add to that army for my friends that tune in for my Flesh Eater Quartz content. So if you are watching this and you have this on the background while you're hobbying and whatnot, thank you, first off. And know that Flesh Eater Quartz is coming back into the TMP video range, because I do have a project where I am going to paint up no less than 60 crypt ghouls. Because I like torture. That's the way. No, because it's going to play really well on the table, and I already have 40 of them. So yeah. So 80, I think. 90, 100. I'll have 100 crypt ghouls. Yeah, 100 crypt ghouls, 100 infantry. Now think about that, okay? On a 40K scale. Yeah, I'm going to have 100 infantry. It's like more like orcish. Again, we're doing these screens here, doing some layering, painting the white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with Dragonov Nightshade, or you can just do some layering and call it a day right here. There's different types of techniques. Layering looks really good on your table. A lot of people who paint miniatures use layering because once they put it on the table, it looks pretty realistic. All right, I'm going to do like a boop here of white, and I go around and tidy that up a little bit. But you can see already that just doing some layering over here does help make it sort of look like a screen other than just a little piece of plastic. And that's just layering. I didn't even blend anything here. Okay, and that's pretty cool. And I go back there with a little bit of blending. I'm doing that Sotek green right now to get that mid color in there and just do that little swirling of that white paint there. And now I'm just mixing right onto the miniature. A lot of people are very uncomfortable about that, but it really is liberating. All right, so now to get onto the bone color here, going in with my base color here, and then I go all the way to, not quite Wraith bone, but Ushanti bone, to be able to do that. And I think it looks better on this figure here. Actually, on the crane, I do a number, and you're going to see it there. But yeah, I'm just going to get in the skulls here. It's the same kind of thing. You have to do is a dark brown bone color, and it could be any brand really. And then a mid-tone bone color is an Ashanti bone, which is the second bone color that I'm going to use in there. I just got some highlights in there. Now, some people stop right there, but I actually go a little layer higher as well. So I'm just getting the general areas. And the general areas when it comes to layering is, if you put on the paint, every time you put on a lighter paint, you're working in a smaller area. And that is essentially right there. And I slowed down my speech just so you can get that. Every time you work in layering, you're going to cover less surface area the lighter the paint you go, because it's supposed to give that impression. Carabin Crimson is next. I'm going to go over all the parts that I hit with that base Mephiston red. And I'm going to put this little nail in between there. So this way the GW lids don't really close on me. So I'm going to just put that right there. That's a technique you might want to be able to use right there. And now it doesn't flip close on me, which is great. Alrighty, so just hitting on the areas here. I'll show you what I do here. And I'm going to show you how to paint with shades in reverse. So if you do have shades, I'm going to show you how to do that. And I did go to my local art store, and they had a sale on GW products, which is unheard of. But it was my art store and not my hobby store. Okay. So they get this massive sale, and I think I got 50% off. So I bought like a lot of paint, but that was like a year ago. So here I am. Alrighty. So that was over a year ago. My goodness. Time flies. Now I'm going to scrape up some stuff and get into some weathering using a sanding block. Be careful not to take off any of the red parts you did, but just stick to the yellow as best as you can. Possibly smaller instead of a block would have helped, but you know, just general area. And when you can't get with a block, go in with the reverse side of your X-Acto blade. You could also use, you know, one of those like flash removals, a mold line removal tool if you want to be able to do this as well. There are some scraping tools that you can use also, which is pretty awesome. I discovered one in my art store recently, which I'm excited to use and to develop my painting skills by, you know, developing my weathering, developing stuffing. Now, I'm not saying I'm the perfect painter, because I'm not, but I'm always willing to learn something new. And that's what really drives me. And that's what, you know, I'm trying to imbue to everyone around me. Don't be afraid to learn something new and to make mistakes and to do it again. You know, worst thing that can happen, you can paint it over. That's pretty much it. But once you paint it to the level that you are happy with, I mean, that's going to be forever. You know, it's going to be your forever thing. You can always come back to it and say, oh my gosh, that is amazing. Alrighty. So, yeah, continuing on to the weathering. Speaking about looking back upon things, now that GW is putting things onto their legends, I'm kind of starting to sell off some of my Space Wolves. So the older stuff is go bye-bye. So if you need some Space Wolf stuff, just let me know, because I do have some Thunderbolt Cavalry and some Terminators, although the Terminators I might be able to use anyway. Yeah, because it's the same base, right? I don't care. So they're a little height difference. So what? All right. All right. Although I won't be able to use it in tournaments, which is interesting because I'm doing my first one. So that's interesting as well. Okay, go ahead and some red paint here. I'm going to show you how to do the skulls now again. Hitting the bone color here. Just getting that base tone once again. Hitting it off with that. And getting into the the recessed areas here, especially on these skulls itself, because, you know, I did a metallic kind of color there and I didn't want to like mess it up. But once you have that base color in, do that Ushanti bone for that second color here. And what we're doing here is like a little bit, almost like a stippling effect, which I always wanted to kind of try. So this is something new that I'm teaching myself while filming a video. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to anyway. So I'm just going to put little dots until it looks right. So you see how I'm just touching I'm not spreading the paint around. I'm just touching, possibly even creating a little bit of texture. On bone, yeah, not every bone is polished smooth. It's sometimes there's some, little ridges and cracks and stuff like that to it. So yeah, just building up, not complete texture here, but just a little bit, giving a little rougher area. I'm using that to my advantage. I love like organic shapes because you can get away with just about anything, really. You can put some texture on it. You can use drier paints. You don't have to do thin coats. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to tell you how to paint with shades, which is kind of interesting too. This is how I apply it. So I'm going to apply this shade and I'm going to get a lot on. So there it is. And really getting a lot on, like spot on, lot on. And it's going into there. Now, if I left it on there, it would look pretty much the way it does now, which is kind of gross. So what I do is I take my brush and I wipe it onto a paper towel off screen here, and I'm sucking up the paint where it doesn't need to be, and then I'm just painting the areas that have the highlights on them. Literally painting with nothing. Like I'm just wiping off the brush and painting with nothing. What that does is take off some of that shade in those areas, and the highlights really penetrate. Yes, they penetrate through the painting. And they leave behind, the dark recesses still being dark or at least tinted and shaded while your highlights still pop, even though you just put a shade on it. Now, one of the things about the shades is like almost like contrast paint, but the contrast paint is supposed to like intentionally leave a stain behind. Shades are not supposed to as much, maybe just in the shadows. So what you're doing is painting, but the reverse of painting, you're taking off paint instead of putting it on, and brushing with a non-paint filled paintbrush. So try that. That's interesting, isn't it? So that's something I do with my shades when I put it on in this methodology, and it comes out looking great. All right, so we're going to get back in here, and we are doing black when it comes to the Adeptus Mechanicus symbol, and just going around that little area right there, putting on those little bits and starting to shape up. All right, once you're done the black and doing white on the other side, doing the other side of the gear white is pretty much the symbol for the Adeptus Mechanicus. So I do right black, left white, and that's how I organize that. And I think that is the official way to do it for GW. So, I mean, not that matters, but well, if it matters to you now, you know. All right, a little bit of maybe an overbrush. That's what I'm doing here, of a lighter metallic color. Again, if you added ink to your lead belcher, here's where you just put straight lead belcher on there and see what it does. Okay, from there, what you do is just go to glue in the parts and put it all together. This is it. Well, that's not it. There's one more other part. But putting the glues together, keep in mind when it comes to this crane, there's a lot of glue points. You see right here. Plenty of glue points that you're going to have to consider when putting it together. And when I say plenty, I mean a lot of glue points. And you wanted this solid as well because this terrain piece kind of falls a lot. Okay, just putting some glue points over here and gluing this together too. Always wrapping up with building the thing. So I usually paint in some assembles and then just glue together the painted pieces, and it's so cool when it all comes together. Like this is the moment that I really cherish when it comes to painting a miniature, is because I get to put it all together and it's all painted and pretty amazing. So this is like the it moment for me. Very, very cool. You can do this and push this anywhere you wanted. So if you're doing the same thing at home, you can. Now for the piece resistance, the black lining, which I'm doing with a micron pen. Pigma micron pens are essential for me. They're part of my toolbox. Okay, time for the pictures. Well, there it is, TMP fans, painted up and ready for the gaming table. And if you like this tutorial, you know exactly what to do. And make sure that you paint every miniature to improve at least one skill and may your backlog get ever smaller.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.